Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I hope everybody is having a good week so far. If you're new here to my channel, welcome to Lynette Speaks, where I speak my mind and speak on the day's trending topics, or just anything that happens to interest me. If you vibe with the content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. I also have another channel called Lynette's Perspective, where I review or reviewed reality TV shows. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, the link is in the description. Now let's just get right into it.
No, it's crazy. Generation Alpha is here. Now, Gen Z ended around 2010, 2013. So the next generation after Z, start the alphabet over again, would be Generation Alpha. And there's a lot of them. They're not only going to be the first generation born in the 21st century, there's 2.5 million of them being born globally every week, putting their population around 2 billion by the year 2025.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about what is going on with Gen Alpha, the generation that the internet just loves to hate. I swear I have seen more think pieces and deep dives on how Generation Alpha is just the worst generation ever, how they're doomed, and there is just no hope.
Generation Alpha are not just honey badgers. That's like a cutesy way of saying that they're fierce and they're going to change the world. They're feral and they're going to burn it down. If you're a parent of one of these Gen A kids, I need you to hear me, and I'm going to say this with as much respect and compassion as those kids show everybody else. What went wrong? And get it together.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that was funny. She said, Gen Alpha is not going to change the world. They're going to burn it down. But seriously, let's answer her question. What went wrong? I know you all have your own thoughts and opinions about this, but I'm going to go ahead and give my perspective. I am a late Gen Xer. I didn't quite make the millennial cutoff, so technically I'm Gen X. Don't really have any problems with that. I also am a former educator. I worked in education for 12 years. So I want to separate reality from social media narratives because I personally have Gen Alpha in my own family. So I want to talk about what they've been teaching me so far about Gen Alpha. And I want to share with you what I've learned about what they're really struggling with.
I think I speak for many of us when I say that Gen Alpha, or the iPad kid generation, is so far an absolute terrifying nightmare to deal with. And I want to talk about this today. And I know people say this about every young generation. It's kind of like a rite of passage for aging. But it is an epidemic to the point where teachers who have taught their entire lives are just up and quitting their jobs now because they can't handle these kids anymore. Is that they're having extreme social issues and they have like little to no mannerisms. The iPad kids are out of control.
No iPad. But I want to know that. You can't have the iPad. No.
So when most people think of Gen Alpha children, this is likely what they picture. Children in extreme forms of distress, typically being filmed by either their parents or their teachers. And it's just so awful to watch. And of course, these things happen, especially in classrooms, but this is not every Gen Alpha child. In fact, many Gen Alpha children that I happen to see just out in the real world and also within my own family and that I work with in classrooms, most of them actually do not behave like this. So I don't feel like you can just paint the entire generation with the one broad brush, because just like adults, children are individuals as well. So this is not representative, I think, of every Gen Alpha child. But when it comes to social media, this is typically what I see when I see their generation being talked about. So let's talk about why I think more of this is happening or being seen on social media, with so many of these children being unable to regulate their emotions.
Maybe there would be less behavioral and academic issues within the schools if kids weren't being given an iPad before they could even walk. So now, not only are they not okay with being bored, but they're not discovering their creativity through moments of boredom, nor are they able to self-regulate their emotions because they're given an iPad every single time they're upset. Who said that?
Okay, so first, I believe that we as a community and as a society stopped believing that the world was safe. We stopped talking to our neighbors and we no longer allowed children to play outside, right? So boom, an integral part of childhood that generations of children got to enjoy, gone. So fast forward to kids now being all cooped up in the house, unable to leave or socialize with any other children. Something like that definitely leaves a void. Outside of technology and smartphones, children now automatically lose their independence. They lose their autonomy. They lose their innate desire to explore and connect to the natural world, something that is foundational in young children. They lose out on physical activity, especially being cooped up in the house. I mean, you can't throw a ball in the house, you can't climb anything in the house, and children are just not meant to be sedentary. So much of their growth and development relies on their physical activity, and this generation is losing out on all of it. So I get why parents who want their kids to stay inside and stay safe feel as though they need technology, because technology has seized the opportunity to fill the void that society has created. And with the proliferation of iPhones and iPads, and with the lack of physical activity, kids are losing their ability to use their imagination and play.
They spend less time socializing in person, and this one I've seen the most with the kids in my life is less development of creativity and imagination. The kids I've watched over the years have no interest in coloring and building, and they just want to sit on their iPads and watch Netflix and play apps and games.
Do kids still have imaginative playtime? I give my kids iPads for educational games. Give them a book. Let them learn, let them play, let them have creativity. Give your kid a crayon and a piece of paper if it's bored. What about safety? What if they have to call me? Bring back flip phones for children. But if my kid gets bored, I want to give them an iPad. Did you know boredom's good? Boredom is good for you. Boredom feeds creativity. Children should be bored.
Yes, I completely agree. Boredom is a good thing. But I'm not going to go on a rant on how I feel about kids not playing with toys anymore, because I could talk about that all day, especially since I used to teach preschool. As a matter of fact, I just got a family member who is Gen Alpha a Sephora gift card for their birthday, for their 10th birthday. So yes, I know I am part of the problem. I understand that. But I would have been more than happy to just go down the pink Barbie aisle and buy her Barbies or something for her birthday, but she had zero interest in any toys, dolls, Barbies, or anything. She just wanted Sephora. Just a Sephora gift card was like number one on her list. She just wants skincare. So I wanted to get her what she wanted. I didn't know what else to do. But again, I know that makes me part of the problem. Trust me, I get that. And I know that so many other little girls and 10-year-olds are just like her.
I took my niece and my daughter to Sephora because I wanted to treat them. We're at Disneyland, but this is where the real magic happens. I got them the Sephora collection lip balm. They were having a hard time deciding which flavor to get. Totally normal. Of course, I had to get them some sunscreen. We tried on some blush and then smelled all the perfume. We really like this one from Gucci, of course.
Oh my goodness. This is so my life. This is such an example of my life right now. So I am seeing firsthand how social media is influencing young kids to mirror adults, while at the same time, fundamentals of childhood are just being eliminated. Like I said before, with simple things like riding your bike through the neighborhood, going down the street to visit friends, being dropped off at the mall, being dropped off at the movies, being dropped off at the skating rink, all those types of things that were normalized when we were kids. Again, those have all been eliminated for kids because parents just don't feel safe to do that anymore. And who can blame them? So what do kids really have in order to counter all of the social media influence? I mean, even slumber parties and sleepovers, which I happened to love when I was a little girl, even those are really kind of being eliminated in a lot of ways, because parents don't really even feel safe with slumber parties or sleepovers anymore as well. And again, I can't even blame parents because they're not the only ones who don't feel safe anymore. I don't think anyone really feels safe in the world anymore. So I'm sure that's magnified for those who have children. So it's not surprising that in 2025 that we as a society are seeing so many negative outcomes in kids. So my heart really goes out to the parents of Gen Alpha, especially millennial parents, because millennial parents seem to really be catching a lot of heat on social media lately.
So I don't mean to get off on a rant here, but what the is with all of the millennials being so incredibly disempowered? I will remind you that while Gen X raised Gen Z, and we are all very impressed with them for that, millennials raised Gen Alpha, which have been lovingly nicknamed honey badgers, and not for no reason. No, not for no reason. And I'll tell you what, they did not pop out of the Cave of Wonders like that. They learned it somewhere. So please, kindly stop pretending you don't know what you're doing.
Okay, so Gen X raised Gen Z and they're fine, but millennial parents are raising Gen Alpha and they are just the worst parents that have ever existed. Is that what we're supposed to believe? I mean, does all of the fallout for Gen Alpha really just fall squarely on the shoulders of millennial parents? Is that fair? I know so many people really do feel that way, but go ahead and drop down in the comments and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on that, because I really want to move on to talking about millennial parents.
You want to know why millennials have an entire generation of iPad children? It's because we have no village and because the world is not set up for kids anymore.
Okay, I completely agree with her. In 2025, where is the village? Can we not empathize with how hard it is to try to raise children in 2025? I worked in education for over 12 years, and I counseled so many families that were really struggling. And so many of the societal changes that I talked about earlier on in this video, like the lack of community, is really taking a toll on millennial parents.
Then we get told, well, send them outside to play. That's what we did with you. One, we just went through the winter. Nobody wants to be outside when it's 14 degrees. But two, when you sent us outside from light to dark, there was a lot less child and kidnapping in the world.
When I was growing up back in the 80s, I remember that my parents had a lot of support, whether it be with, actually both of my grandmothers were amazing, God rest their souls. But my parents had the support of their parents, aunts, uncles, neighbors. It really was a village. It really was a community. I wasn't just cooped up in the house all the time with no one else to really watch me. So my heart really does go out to parents who don't have a support system. And I know we just want to blast millennial parents that they are just using iPads as a substitute for parenting. Gentle parenting is failing. They're doing a terrible job. And believe me, I totally understand. A lot of the criticisms are valid, but I think you have to look at things from both perspectives.
And then if I'm out at a restaurant with my child and they so much as make a noise and disturb your dinner, you're going to give me the side eye and call me a bad mom. But then if I give them an iPad so they're quiet and don't disturb your dinner, you're also going to give me the side eye and call me a bad mom. Oh, and remember how when you used to take us to McDonald's or any fast food restaurant, they all had play places open for the kids to play in? Yeah, they don't even have those anymore. They have taken them all out, or since COVID, they've shut them all down. So before you want to judge parents that give their kids the screen time that they give them, you should probably realize that we don't have the same village you had, nor is the world set up for our kids like it was for yours. It's not lazy parenting. It's finding a solution to a problem that we face every single day.
These kiddos have an addiction to screen time, and y'all have an addiction to screen time just as much as them, because you know that them not having a screen in front of their face makes it infinitely more challenging to parent them at home and out in public. A lot of people talking about how and why they give their kid a screen out in public is not necessarily because they're making it an easier time on the kid, but they're making it an easier time on the adults around them. You're giving your kid an iPad at the restaurant because you don't want to disrupt anybody else's experience. You want to have a nice dinner and have adult conversation. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with what's best for the kid. That has everything to do with what's best for the adults around them. And what's worse is because of the lack of awareness around this issue and the fact that you don't want to take ownership that it's getting out of hand, is that you're sending them to school and pawning off that addiction on teachers. Because when we ask them to sit there and listen to instructions or complete an activity that doesn't have to do with technology, we can't get it done with them. And they are having complete meltdowns because they don't know how to function without having a screen in their hand. You're pawning that issue off on us.
Ouch. I think she made a really good point. Trying to pacify kids with these iPads may temporarily work at home or when parents are out in public or in a restaurant, but when you try to send the kids to schools, it's clearly not working in the classroom. Now, as a former educator, my last year of teaching was back in 2018. I was teaching overseas, so the proliferations of phones in the classroom and iPads was really not an issue quite yet. Obviously, kids had phones, but it wasn't as bad as it's gotten now. There's no way I could have ever imagined. I was burnt out. I did 12 years and I got burnt out. My last year, like I said, was 2018. I had no idea how much harder it was going to get for teachers after I left. and seeing firsthand just on social media what technology and iPads is doing in order to sort of deteriorate the classroom, and it's just sort of deteriorating kids' learning and just the whole education system as a whole. That's really alarming. So is there anything that we as a whole, as a society, can do to help millennial parents who are raising Gen Alpha kids? Is there anything that we can do to help teachers who are having to teach Gen Alpha kids? Is there any way to bring community back? I mean, can parents just start opening up their doors again and letting kids out to run around and roam free in the neighborhoods again? Can parents simply just take away all the iPads and just get rid of all of them and just make it to where there's no more iPads in schools or homes? I don't really see that happening. It's not likely, I don't think, in 2025. It's just not the way that the world works anymore. And I'm not really seeing any solutions to the problems in 2025 and how we can all move forward to help the younger generation. So many of us just seem to be wagging a finger right now and shaking our heads at the younger generation like there's absolutely nothing we can do. But you all let me know. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any solutions? What do you think can be done to help parents and to help Gen Alpha kids and to help teachers? What can we do as a whole, as a society, that's realistic for 2025? I certainly don't have the answers, but if you are a millennial parent, and especially if you're struggling right now, go ahead and drop down in the comments and let me know what you think. And if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I so appreciate you sticking in there with me. That's all I have for you today. Please drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about this topic. If you like this video and would like to see more content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And until next time.